Hey Leo, thanks for joining us here. Uh, we're just going to go through a couple of quick questions, but first, if you want to say hello to the people who are going to be watching this interview.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. Car Throttle, hello. It's awesome to be with you guys, and I'm looking forward to all the questions.
Uh, to give a quick, brief introduction to Crazy Leo's career, he's been within the Canadian Rally Championship for several years, since 2007, I believe.
Correct?
Since 2007, and for 2014 he was driving in the DMAC Cup, which is a World Rally Class event, which is not the full World Rally Championship, to clarify, but it does all the same stages as the World Rally Championship. It's very similar in structure to the World Rally Championship, but it's aimed at the talent who would like to get into the upper levels of the World Rally Championship.
Yes, correct. Speaking of the Drive DMAC Fiesta Trophy, it's running only 5 events of the World Rally Championship. It's identical stages, same mileage, so same level of preparation, which is a lot. And the car we have is a few steps, to say the least, lower than the WRC car, but it's one of the most affordable proper rally cars out there. Therefore, some of the best drivers who can't afford the top level, but actually the best drivers in the world are in it. And really, anybody who's done well at that level, it's the same thing as the year before. It was called the Junior World Rally Championship, WRC Academy, all the same thing, same team, same cars. So really and truly, those who come top three in that class, they always go on and win their classes and championships later on, and so on and so forth. It was an honor to get selected. I was the only North American or South American, for that matter, to be selected in that year, 2014, and it was a blast. I had some bad luck. It's a long story, but I definitely had a blast, and I learned a lot, and I killed a lot of co-drivers doing so.
Well, not killed, but broke.
Bro, yeah.
uh, to clarify, that's a R5 prepped car, I believe.
It's R2.
R2. It's still a very, very capable rally car, but a budget rally car nonetheless, which it still is very good competition. But one of the instances of bad luck, for example, was a brake failure that ended in a crash. So,
Yes, the car is extremely well prepared. It actually has all the bells and whistles you need for a proper rally car, like, obviously hydraulic brake systems and for e-brake and things like sequential gearboxes. Everything's fully adjustable, but the power is quite low. It's 170 horsepower only, non-turbo, two-wheel drive, and really it goes to show that power is the last thing you want to do when you're souping up your car for all kinds of advanced driving, maybe short of big fast racetracks. It's the suspension, the handling, the ergonomics of it. That's what you need, and that advice goes for anybody who's tuning up their car for just some spirited driving on the street. Uh, yeah, so that's the car. Oh yeah, and the brake failure. Yeah, last rally of the season, had a brake failure. The pipe burst on a long stage in Spain, and we hit a wall at quite high speed and almost went off a cliff. Didn't, so we're here. It's okay.
to clarify on that, the Fiesta R2, that one would have the upgraded, very heavily upgraded aftermarket shock absorbers, but not anything else within the suspension, really. Nothing with the control arms and such. So it's very similar to the street Fiestas in some ways, but prepped for rally in other ways where it would be very important and very necessary to upgrade them. Do not probably last many stages of World Rally Championship stages if you didn't have upgraded shock absorbers.
Yes, and because Car Throttle community is very enthusiastic and passionate and quite knowledgeable about cars and setups and sports, I can tell that, for example, shock absorbers are very good as Riger suspension. And if you go straight, you can pretty much drive over anything and the car will take it. But because the arms and suspension links and bearings and stuff, they're pretty much stock, maybe small modifications, but not really doing much different than stock. You can't take rough stuff sideways. So if you see in that car, if you see anything rough, you better be dead straight, which is good technique anyway. And just a step back about the competition, the R2 class or front wheel drive, affordable front wheel drive classes, they actually have a higher competition than other classes because just the cost of running it. It's
Mm-hmm.
cheaper. It's still tons of money. Don't get me wrong. It's crazy the logistics in the World Championship and so on. But it is actually better competition than even at the very top of WRC because there's just more fast guys than at the
Yeah.
top.
The number of entrants and the number of entrants who can afford to keep pace and
Exactly. The number of competitive guys. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So that's the story there.
All right. So without further ado, I think I can go ahead with the questions now, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. So the first thing, this question was asked by Sam Stone. He wants to know about the origins of the name Crazy Leo and when you adopted it as a title.
I didn't as such adopt it myself. My team, Kenjin Motorsports, who I owe my career to, when they picked me up, long story short, they saw some of the things I'm doing in my daily driver and some of the upgrades I was doing to it, which are a lot of people would say downgrades. Like instead of going for a bigger rim, I went for a smaller rim and a gravel tire or winter tire at that point with smaller brakes. So it doesn't look cool, but actually makes a lot of sense on the roads I wanted to drive. So they just saw how I act and what I do and how I wouldn't want to fix scratches on the car after some accidents, but I want the driveline components to be fixed 100%. And they said, well, you must be crazy. And with my first name, that kind of stuck.
I'm very glad that it did stick though, because I kind of think that just one of the best brands of rally right now is to be the guy who's just crazy and just knows exactly who he is and is proud of who he is.
Yeah, I mean, it does actually. It's one of those things that does happen to reflect how I drive, what I do, how passionate I am about the sport. So it's good. Yeah, I'm glad it stuck too. But wasn't me who came up with it. It was a team,
Mm-hmm.
and as a joke.
There's the one photo at Tall Pines at I think Tall Pines 2012 or 2013, where it actually says on one of the banners at the spectator area, "Crazy Leo, please don't crash too early."
Yes, correct. That was made by one of the fans and you could say a friend. Yeah, they just knew that one time that rally I crashed so early. It was second stage. We destroyed the car, hitting a piece of Canada at 100 km an hour. And they saw how upset I was because to crash so early, one thing, it costs a fortune, but you've missed out on all of the mileage. You haven't had fun, really. And that's the key for me, always to have fun. So it sucked so much. I'd very much rather crash in the last stage of the rally and throw away the result. Because at the end of the day, it's all about having fun and going fast, going 10 tenths. It's not as much about the result as, result is not that important as having fun. But there, to crash on the second stage of the event was just terrible. It felt absolutely terrible. So that's why they say, Leo, it's okay to crash, but not too early.
Mm-hmm. So if I can move on to the next question.
Yeah?
Okay. The next question was asked by Lasse Lund. It's uh, it's a question asking about what's going through your mind, or to be more specific, do you find that you're concentrating very hard like never before?
Oh, you mean on the stage, right?
Yes.
We do immense amount of preparations before every rally, and actually, after even going head to head with some of the best people in the World Rally Championship, I'm still yet to meet a driver who prepares as much as I do, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
proud to say that because I think that the guys who get there not because they can afford a better car or a bigger turbo, they actually work hard with the prep. So with the amount of prep we put in, I'm able to pretty much tone out of it completely when
Mm-hmm.
everything is good and you're in the zone, your hands and feet and your body pretty much does whatever the co-driver says. So it feels when you're in the zone and everything works and you've done your prep. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stages where it doesn't work this well, but when it
Mm-hmm.
does, it's just you kind of feel almost like you're not there. It's very, very weird. But it's like the co-driver tells you what's coming and the hands just do it. And it's inch perfect
Mm-hmm.
and all good. And you're pushing, you're not necessarily the fastest. It doesn't mean you're the best in the world. It just means that you're driving to the goal you've set up. If you're going like me in the first year in WRC, I could not afford to crash. So I was just going kind of 8, 9 tenths the maximum in order to get the necessary experience. That's what you're doing. You can still be in the zone. And then the
Mm-hmm.
best feeling, of course, is when you push and it's really like touching trees with the rear bumper sometimes, but just because you want to be there, you're using all the road going in and coming out. So that's the feeling. And Yes, to answer the question, it's not so much you end up concentrating like crazy, but you not through a lot of effort or trial. It just works like this.
I think something that you can add to that is some of the great people have always said if you leave a centimeter of space unused on a racetrack, you're leaving a tenth of a second, 2/10 of a second. You're losing time, but the racetrack was built to be used. It's there for you to use it. If you're not using every square centimeter that you can use from it, you're losing time. And I think that's one of the most important things for any aspiring rally driver or rally enthusiast to understand. Like Leo says, if he's coming close to the trees, that he's hitting the branches with the rear bumper, he means it because you have to go fast.
Yeah, and I mean, I've done a few races as well in Canada on racetracks, and definitely it's much easier because the racetrack is there, it's almost always the same, and all these things that your guys would know. But in rallying, a trick is also to know how hard to push. You cannot go always 10 tenths, no matter who you are. Sebastian Loeb, I'm sure, would tell you that he doesn't go 10 tenths all the time. Ogier, Canadian champion as well. No rally driver always goes 10 tenths, and you would crash if you do. And hence the examples of Kimi Raikkonen, who, after 3-4 years at the top of the sport with very good backing, obviously good preparation, couldn't quite stop crashing. Unfortunately, Robert Kubica is the same. So it's you can't always use it, but when you pick your stage where you're gonna do battle or few stages, that's when you use every inch of it. Yes.
So the next question comes from the S80 Rallyist. He's wondering if there's one piece of advice for someone looking to get into rally, what would it be?
Um, Unless you've already done so, you should probably get it out of your head that rallying is about just pedal to the metal and go sideways, Colin McRae style, through all the corners. Rallying is actually extremely intelligent sport. It takes so much prep and so much everything, intelligence, effort, like advice from the team and so on to get it right. So my first advice would be, like with any project, look at it like a business. You're never gonna make money with it, but still look at it like a business so you don't lose too much. So sit down and write out what you have, what your goals are. So where you want to go? Do you want to have it as a hobby? Do you want to just do some rally as a very kind of grassroots level and just to be a better driver for the road, or do you want to get a little more serious into it? What kind of time commitment you have? What kind of budget you have? You gotta for sure know these things before you can kind of ask intelligent questions about rally. And people very often message me with these questions, and if your user wants to message me, by all means, Facebook, Twitter, whatever. But gotta have those questions answered first, because
Yeah.
it's a big difference between the son of Ari Vatnen, who has obviously serious backing and everything, versus somebody who has their own daily driver and they want to maybe put a cage into it, right?
So a lot of it also comes down to budget as far as that goes, with budget, time constraints, and the general ability to be able to travel to different countries if you want to get into the World Rally Championship. If you have the financial backing, the question you should ask yourself also is, do you have the ability to commit the time to it? There's all sorts of things that go into the making of a rally driver that's not just about the driving talent, but which it's also important to know. But to further go into that, is there one tip that you would give to someone who's learning to drive the rally, if it's not specific to the budgeting or any of that concerns, but someone who wants to find a way to better themselves as a driver? Is there one piece of advice that you would give that you would give at Race Lab that you'd be willing to share with Car Throttle right now?
Oh, of course, with pleasure. If you just want to be a good driver for all kinds of disciplines, including a good advanced driver for the road, which is what we're trying, biggest chunk of really the business we're doing at Race Lab. Be analytical, analyze. I mean, with social media now, there's so much footage you can find. Sebastian Loeb doing stages. Who's better than him? Like, analyze his stuff. So analysis helps. With road racing. It's even easier because you can look at many angles of the same corner, and there's even more footage and so on. So be analytical. That's for general driver, and try to learn from that. It's free. Um, Talk to people, talk to your friends, find a team you can make friends with. That's what I did with CanGem, and then
Mm-hmm.
they trusted in me, believed in me, and so on. Now, if we're talking specific advice for somebody who wants to be a rally driver, I would say you gotta kind of face that driving is only second hardest, possibly third hardest thing that you will have to do. By far, the hardest and the most important is the art and science of pace notes.
Mm-hmm.
And possibly something that's harder than driving is to be able to set up a car well. That's like
Mm-hmm.
borderline, but pace notes is definitely harder. So yeah, if you can be very fast on the road that you know, and in a car that's a stock car that doesn't require any setup, it doesn't mean you can be a fast real rally driver. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the advice. That's where we start at Race Lab as well.
Yeah, so to clarify on that, uh, something that I think is very important for us to understand. Crazy Leo has created this company that we're mentioning. It's called Race Lab. It's going to be both in driving experience and a driving school where people will be able to experience being in the passenger seat of a rally car. Where, as part of this experience, I was in a Crazy Leo prepared car in some cases. It's not the Beast. It's not his Canadian Rally Championship Open class car, but it is a very very fast uh, 2000
I don't even know. It doesn't matter. It's a rally car.
It's
Believe me,
a
it feels fast. It is fast.
but it's a first generation Subaru Impreza WRX STI, and it has the full rally suspension, and it has the rally tires that I was in, and that is a quite incredible ride, and I would recommend it to anyone who is curious about it.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up. It is an advanced driving school near Toronto. What we do is two things, like Andrew said. One is the experiences or adventures. So it's like look at it like skydiving or going to a gun range. You show up somewhere for a cool experience. In our case, you show up to go for a ride in a rally car, and it's phenomenal. It's cool. Most people say it's actually more amazing than skydiving for the first time. That's how wild that is, and we're not even using a very fancy car for that first level. The second is Advanced Driving Academy, where people actually can learn, and some of us here just done a few lessons recently. So that is all kinds of different lessons depending on what people want, on their budget, and their goals, and so on. And so far the feedback has been overwhelming. We have more requests from both corporate and people than we can actually digest at this point. So that's why we even have to move the second event, because we gotta like pick and choose now. And that's only
Mm-hmm.
after one event, so good stuff for now.
So, with an ever expanding business like that, you kind of see yourself moving forward with the driving, instructing, and everything as well. But to clarify that that's not something that's necessarily specific to somebody who wants to learn rallying, but it could be somebody who wants the employees of his delivery business to have better skills at avoiding crashes on the streets. It could be somebody who wants to give their boyfriend or girlfriend, significant other of any type, a fun
Christmas
ride,
gift,
a
yeah.
Christmas gift. It could be anything like that, and it's a truly wonderful experience. I know firsthand, and that's why I'm willing to say so, because I was there and I enjoyed it. And a full review of my thoughts and everything on it are coming. That's going to be in a later post or possibly this one. But for sure, stay tuned on Car Throttle. Keep an eye out on it, and you will be able to see what I thought of it. You'll be able to see the videos that I have from it. You'll see a lot of everything. So that's Race Lab, and if you go on to the internet, www.racelab.ca or .co will both work.
Yes, correct. And like you said, it is not a rally school, it's an advanced driving school for all types of advanced driving. It's a level up or level 2 or level 10 from your average driving school, but rally is part of it, obviously because of my background, but being a rally driver, you're kind of, you know what to do with all types of advanced driving, and we have other instructors, professional instructors from other driving schools and stuff teaching things, and like I said, drivers for the road, just those who want to be safe, especially in a country like Canada, where it's dark for half of the year, literally, you know what I mean? Shitty weather, you can't see stuff. Obviously, rain, snow, slush, all that stuff. So it's quite important. and looks like Canadians really kind of get they understand that it is important. So
Mm-hmm. The next question to move forward is Chico would like to know what your first car was and the first car that you fell in love with.
Uh, I first drove on my own at the age of 7. I first drove in the city at the age of 10. Those were all cars that are like from $1,000 worth. Uh, so didn't really fall in love with them. I fell in love with the experience.
Mm-hmm.
First car I bought was a pretty used 3 Series BMW, and I loved the Beamers. I would drive one a little bit, beat the hell out of it, sell it before it fell apart, get another one for the same amount of money. None of them were new or anything fancy, but it was a lot of fun. And I guess what I really fell in love with, to be honest, wasn't the car, it was rally. The concept of here's a road, no other cars to distract you, just go as fast as physically possible. And it's rallying is phenomenal, and it's just all you gotta do is go for a 5 minute ride, and you'll never stop. You'll never be able to stop. It's that amazing.
It's quite addictive. The just being in a car that's sliding and getting airborne and all that. I will agree. It's very fun and it can be the bug that bites within 5 minutes and you're addicted.
Yep, exactly.
The next question is from Red Watson. It's
Another one.
okay. The what do you consider to be the greatest rally route you've ever driven? The greatest stage or event?
Very easy. Rally Finland. WRC Rally Finland beats it all, and somebody behind the camera is super happy now. We should show his t-shirt after, but Rally Finland is just the only rally I actually spectate gladly.
Mm-hmm.
FYI, I hate spectating because the feeling of being at the rally and not driving is just sucks. Rally Finland is so amazing. Atmosphere, the people, the just everything. And then the roads after you drive the roads, oh, it's like it's something to kill for.
Thank you and a shout out to our friend the stegographer behind the camera that Leo mentioned there. He was exceedingly happy there
Yeah.
to hear that it was Rally Finland. It was Alex Kirsten plus MX5.
Well, Rally Finland was the first WRC rally that I actually got to watch firsthand, so
Nice.
it's got a special place in my heart.
Special place in your heart. Yeah, I think everybody has to have that one rally that has that special place in their heart.
Yep.
For me, it's still Tall Pines, but um, the next question is from V8. This is actually just a couple of questions. The first one: if you could drive any car from rally history up to this day, which one would it be and why?
It doesn't so much matter which one. It matters more set up by who. Therefore, my answer would be Citroen, probably GS3, maybe C4, but set up by Sebastian Loeb.
I think one of the kids recognizes you.
Professional race car driver,
Uh,
future rallyist right there.
yeah.
But fans aside, do you follow other motorsports, and which one, and who's your favorite from a different motorsport that's not rally?
Um, I follow other motorsports. Biggest is F1. I do have to say that I'm a fan of Alonso because that guy's a fighter, big time. I respect and like a couple of other drivers. Alonso is the best. My favorite F1 commentator is Martin Brundle. I even swap channels from BBC to Sky F1, Sky Sports, because he swaps jobs, I guess. Speaking of loyalty, now I also have huge, immense respect to Valentino Rossi.
Um, is he the motorcycle rider?
Yeah, motorcycle.
Okay, I do believe I've seen some of his races. I just don't follow motorcycles as much, but he is talented. I will say that because
Yeah.
I saw how he drives the rally cars as well, and that's
That too. See, there's a connection there. Exactly. Rossi is our boy. Yes.
he's a talented driver.
Yeah.
So I know if he's a talented rally driver, he's probably also a talented motorcycle
He's a
rider.
god behind the wheel of behind on a bike, I guess. Yeah.
Hmm. And the last question from V8 is who would you be if you weren't a rally driver? Uh, Another kind of motorsport, sport, or something completely different?
I just love driving. I don't know why I got the bug. I was a kid, and I remember pretty much the first time I was like super young. I don't know, 7. No, I started driving at 7, so this would have been earlier, like 5 maybe in a car, and it was my uncle driving, and he just kind of booted it on the street a little bit, and I was like, I don't know, for some reason I fucking love the feeling. So I'd love to be doing something with racing, hopefully, but it's such a long shot, especially where I grew up. You know, I was born in Russia, and this whole behind the Iron Curtain thing. Not coming from wealthy family, not coming from any motorsport background, to even be involved, it's such a stretch. So that's actually what I'm really proud of, and with not really my achievement, just how lucky, how everything turned out so well. But to come from nothing, my slogan is one of them, is from nothing to the world championship. To do that is just super lucky. But yes, I would have loved to do something in racing, not bikes, although I ride, but cars. And But to say that I've always dreamed about it, not really, because I didn't think it's even possible until I was, of age and things started happening.
Mm-hmm. The next question is from Supercar1. It's asking, what is your biggest fear while rallying, and why do you like rally so much?
Uh, I don't have fear when I'm rallying because, again, like the great Sebastian Loeb said, if you think about what's off the road, you're not in the game, you're not concentrating enough. So I'm not saying I'm fearless. I do get scared often. That's when things go wrong, though. When you're like losing it at 200 plus k an hour and going drifting towards a pole uncontrollably, yeah, that's
That's
scary.
dangerous.
That is proper scary. And I had moments like this, but there's no such fear as I'm rallying. When you're in it, you don't feel pain. You don't feel like any need, like thirsty or need a washroom. Just all these feelings, they turn off
Yeah.
completely. So there's no fear.
I think when you're talking about that, losing control at 200 kilometers an hour and skidding towards a pole, is
Yeah.
that a reference to
Yeah.
Parc Neige?
Yeah, my favorite famous, I guess, crash that everybody likes to shove my face into. It's one of those crashes where I was very lucky. But you know what? Most people, you guys should Google the video like Winter Ray crash Crazy Leo. Um, Nobody gets it, and it says in the end of the video, but most people don't catch it, that we crashed and then kept going and finished second. That's okay, but that's not super impressive. What's super impressive is that we made up 6 minutes of penalties that were awarded to us for something else, for a math co-driver's error. So to fight back 6 minutes in a rally, that's crazy. And we're not talking some regional level; it's a national level, and so that was what I'm the most impressed about.
Yeah, that I personally saw that drive at Parc Neige. I was quite impressed with it as well, so I know exactly what you mean by that. But certainly that crash, I think a lot of people associated that with why you finished second at that Parc Neige. But I think it's important for people not to know that it wasn't the crash that actually caused that, but that it
Yeah,
was something else, but that you recovered from that just loss of control on a particularly slippery stretch of road,
yeah,
and then regained 6 minutes after that.
yes. And
It's impressive.
it's actually easier to drive when the car is half destroyed. Every little background thought that you might have about the cost of the car you're driving is out of the window, because now it's like, might as well finish it off. It's when I rolled at the first corner of Rallycross and we continued, and I was only 4 seconds slower than my record run. So it's like, how'd you do it? Well, because you don't care about the car anymore. It's worth nothing at that point. Yeah, there you go.
Is that why you treat my WRX that way?
Yeah.
That's it's from we had a very fun driving experience on a closed course, but we were using my WRX and he takes it to the limit, and that's quite impressive the way that he drives my car. So,
That wasn't the limit.
well, not the limit, but like as far as someone can go, it's pretty close to it. Like it's very grippy, very fast, and in a car that's not fully prepped for it, it's impressive.
Yeah. And who needs helmets? Come on. He
We weren't
showed up
wearing
with a
helmets.
helmet.
I like to tell people to wear helmets, but sometimes it's not always necessary if you're not going to go 200 whatever kilometers an hour. If you're just within control and
We should probably say a disclaimer at this point. Kids, wear helmets. Thanks.
so the next question is from Mr. Governor, and he's asking, why does milk come in a bag rather than a plastic jug in Canada?
I don't know what's milk, but that brings me to another point. You know all these questions about rally. Like I'm excited now. I want to go for a drive. So it's actually terrible how you can sit here for 20 minutes and just talk about it and get so fucking excited.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, I don't know about the milk. Sorry.
What is milk, anyways, Milan?
Like a white substance? I don't know. We get it in jugs as well. It's just I buy it in jugs.
Yeah.
Jugs.
So Cascanova, if this is maybe something you've already answered, you can answer it quickly. But the user Cascanova is asking, what sparked your passion for rally?
Um, yeah, I've answered what sparked what kind of started when I was very young, my passion for driving. For rally specifically, it was actually after the Beamers I had, they were far from brand new and they were easy to brake and you couldn't quite jump them very high. I did, but not so good. And then I went for a drive on a Subaru, and my friend who had it had an STI swap, I believe, or didn't even yet, but point it was it felt good. And he told me how cheap the parts were compared to a Beamer. And I'm like, why the hell am I driving this German bastard of a Beamer, which I like Beamers, but still. It's like the suspension on this thing is a fourth of the price and it's better for doing more aggressive driving. So that's kind of, I was like, I can actually afford, little bits and pieces way before rally. And that's what kind of started. And then once you see the rally roads, and I happen to have gone to university that used to be a headquarter town for Rally of the Tall Pines. So that's complete coincidence. And I mean, so all the good roads are very close. And by good roads, I mean some of the best in the world, actually. World level drivers like David Higgins would come to Tall Pines and say that this is some of the most challenging stages they've seen in their career, which is like how many years of their career, they've seen. So it's actually, I was just very lucky. So the combination of knowing that there's cars way cheaper but more prepared and roads that are just nothing like you can imagine. Oh, they're just phenomenal. That's like, well, how's this called? This car and that road, it's called Rally. Let's go.
It's truly a dream. Like I've driven on some of the stages from Tall Pines, and I just remember this one time when I was just driving really slowly, and even still, I turned the steering wheel and nothing happened because it was such sheet ice after the rally. And to drive on a road like that, it brings out so many emotions. It's not so much fear, but it's just a nerve. It's like you have to keep it on the island, as it were. Like, and it's such a
Yeah.
struggle. It's so much fun to just struggle with it and play with the car.
It's actually, sorry to say, it's a pretty bad addiction, and I think I read somewhere that adrenaline addiction is like stronger than heroin or something like this. Not sure, but yeah, that's what it is. We're addicts. Let's face it, be honest, and let's keep doing it.
Yeah, and would we really change it for anything? No.
No.
But Cascanova again, he wants to ask, what was the scariest thing you have experienced throughout your rally career?
That accident into the pole was the scariest because I had a big accident on the street that had to do with the pole. So that reminded me of a moment, and yeah, I was probably scared for my life because I think if the car didn't spin and did not get slowed down by the pole, sorry, by the snowbank, we would have smashed it exactly with my side, and at that speed, with my wrist that's already been broken before, that would have been sketchy.
A pretty uncomfortable situation,
Yeah.
which we're glad didn't happen.
Yep. And most importantly, there, I mean, yeah, okay, nobody got hurt, very important, but also I loved the fact that we still got to enjoy the mileage of the rally till the end. That's if you love it as much as I do and other rally drivers do, it's like last thing you want to miss is mileage, seat times, everything. It's so much fun.
So the next question, Aaron from Spain, he wants to ask, are you really crazy?
Yes, and hello Spain. I'm crazy, just somebody has any doubts, let's go for a drive.
Race lab.
Yeah.
Um, Ian Doherty, that question was answered. Happy Fatman, that one was answered. Robert Coy, I'm not really going to pronounce his last name right here, but Robert is asking the favorite classic rally car.
A Lancia 037, the last car to win, the last rear-wheel drive or two-wheel drive car to win the World Rally Championship. That thing just looks amazing. I mean, how can you not love it?
I do agree that it looks fantastic. It really does. Uh, Samuel Almeida, which rally car do you consider to be the best one you've ever driven?
Um, I have to say that the best one I've ever driven would have been Anton Lestage's Evo 10, open class Evo 10. That was the best prepared and the best handling and the most nimble car I've ever driven.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any insight into whether that was with the Mitsubishi's just super all-wheel control, or was that aftermarket differentials?
No, it was. I know a lot about the car, but I'm not allowed to say everything because
Okay.
open class setups are quite
Confidential?
advanced and confidential. But I would say it's both. It's definitely both.
Mm-hmm.
The Evos nailed it. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't become that many time world champion if you didn't. And the modern ones are just that good. Plus what they've done to the car with Liber Racing and John Buffum, 11-time U.S. champion, built it, and Antoine himself is now an 8-time or 7 or who's counting Canadian champion. So that car is something.
And same question by Samuel Almeida, but who's your major reference or idol in the sport?
Sebastian Loeb, and not just because he's won the most, but for many reasons. Because the driving style, because the analysis, because everything he does. I'm not going to give away all my secrets, but and another reason even because the way he acts when he's winning. He's not a jerk, plain and
Mm-hmm.
simple, and he likes beer.
I need to have a beer with so many drivers.
Yeah.
But Sebastian Loeb, I think the most important thing to pick from him is just the driving style is so smooth. Just you can't fault him in a single corner for having just the hands are always in the right place.
Yeah.
And I have so many videos to show that he really is a fantastic driver. And if
Yeah.
anybody is picking an idol, he is a good idol as the driver who's out there right now and driving really well.
Yeah, and if somebody asks who's the most fun driver in terms of interviews, that's obviously Gronholm. I mean, come on, up there as a Timo, it's like can't beat that. The super T-shirt guy is having fun again.
Stig
He has
Augusten.
he has something with Finnish people, I guess.
And how is the daily life as a rally driver?
It sucks because daily you don't get to rally,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to sometimes work and do boring things like business and managing careers and do all these things. They're not boring as such. It's still better than an office job, but to be honest, like I'd like to rally more.
Yeah.
Who doesn't? And yeah, it's just I'm joking that it sucks. It's okay, but I want to be in the car more.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to work the 30, 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week in order to afford those 6 hours of play, 10
Yeah,
hours of play on the weekends, and it's worth it.
yeah.
For some people, it really is.
And it's different from year to year. Like it took me 2 years to prepare the gig in the WRC, and then the year while in WRC, I wasn't working at all as a normal person. Now I'm back to pay some debts because of my crash, that brake failure and so on and so forth. So it's like this, like anything else.
Yeah. That's all the questions that we have for you. It's the last question that I want to ask you is more something that's personal, but as a sort of inspirational thing. Like, do you see yourself being the role model for many people around the world, like many aspiring rally drivers, many young kids who want to have a fun life? Do you see yourself as a role model and someone who sets a good precedent for community involvement and friendships and so on?
Well, I mean, I don't think I've achieved enough in rallying to be a rally driver role model. Maybe later, but not yet. I do have one passion and one strong belief that I have, and that is that you should never give up on a passion. So first step is find the passion. Don't if you don't like accounting. No, if you don't love accounting, don't be an accountant. Find that passion. Way too many people go through life without having a passion, and then a lot of people have the passion or probably have the passion and don't pursue it hard enough. If you think it's easy for us, for people who sometimes make it to the top of some sports or some kind of passions, it's not easy. It looks easy when we're here with the interview, but all the work we have to do in the background is just crazy. But if I can be a role model and try to give something to my younger brothers and sisters or my friends or a bit wider community, it's don't give up. Find that passion and fight for it, no matter what. Now, especially with the internet, social media, this new day and age, there's nobody that's stopping you. You can do anything, and at the start, it can be something else that you do after your regular job, and then people always support genuine passion. So they'll people will find you, people will help you grow. And I was amazed since the start that people were willing. When I was just starting, they were willing to go to tests with me and help me, marshal the facilities, and they would pay their own money to get there, take time off work, and pay for the little motels we were staying. And I could not afford to even reimburse them. And I said, "Look, why are you helping me? Thank you very much, but why are you helping me?" And they said, "Because you're so passionate." So you see, if you have a passion, you're gonna get help. It's gonna work. Not tomorrow. It's hard. It may take longer, but it's still worth it. And that is really something I never get tired of saying. Find the passion and go for it, no matter what, and don't give up.
As you say,
Maybe that was actually a good finish, even.
nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible just takes longer. And when you get it right, you're living the dream. Crazy Leo. Thanks, Crazy Leo.
Thank you. Thank you.